Welcome to the GlassBuild Connect 2020 and welcome to the Winlet booth. My name is Ebbe Christensen from Reachmaster and the North American exclusive distributor of the Winlet product line. And as you all know, the trade show was canceled this year, which we all of course are sorry about, but we're still very excited that we get this opportunity to show you the entire product line of the Winlet units. The surroundings are a little bit more different than what you would normally have at a trade show, but we hope you'll still enjoy our little intimistic, show booth here at our warehouse in Houston, Texas. Just a few words about what we're going to do here the next 30 minutes, give and take. It's not just going to be a sales presentation where we go through every model and everything. We're actually going to go through the model and give you short introductions to all the different models and what they do. And then we're going to pick one out, the Winlet 1265, which is our most popular and most sold machine. We're going to pull that out here and show you all the functions and everything you can do with a Winlet that will make your work a lot easier. At the end of this presentation, we have a surprise for you. We have a brand new machine. We don't have it yet here in North America, but we will have a little introduction from the factory in Denmark that will tell you about our newest machine. Before we get started, let me just give you a short story about the Winlet and how this product came about. Back in the mid-80s in Europe, more specifically in Denmark, they made a new legislation that prevented employees and workers to lift more than about 100 pounds, actually a little less than that. So that of course created a huge problem in a lot of industries, including the window installation industry, because obviously the glass and the windows were way more than that. So that prompted a new technology, and that's how Winlet came about as the original window installation machine. Built and designed in Denmark and has been a leader in the market ever since. So we're here in Texas. We're the North American exclusive distributor of this product, but they are derived and produced in Denmark. The first machine I'm going to introduce you to is our smallest machine. This is the Winlet 770. It's the smallest, and from a weight capacity, the model number on all our machines reflects the actual capacity on the suction cups. So what we have here is the smallest unit, which is the 770. And what you will see later on is all the Winlets are hydraulically driven, and most of the functions are hydraulic, and all the big machines, all is hydraulic. On the Winlet 770, we have a couple of manual functions. One of them is rotation of the head and the side shift. But anything else, as you will see here later, is hydraulic. The next in the line of the models is the 1265. As I mentioned earlier, this is our most sold model. It sits in a great part of the industry and the segment with a capacity of 1265 pounds, but still a very, very compact unit. We will demonstrate this unit in all the details here just a little later, but just to tell you the difference between what you just saw before the 770, this unit has fully automatic rotation and fully automatic side shift. The next machine I'm going to talk about is the Winlet 1320. And there's a good reason you can't see it, because we don't have it here on the show floor. It should be here right where I'm standing. It's a unit that sits between the 1265 and the 1730. What's unique about the 1320 is that it is a machine that is built on the 770 chassis, which is the smallest one, but it has the arm system from the 1265. The result is a machine that has a very high lifting capacity, but it does not have a lot of horizontal outreach. In other words, if you have a large storefront window or anything airtight, very heavy, that you need to move and install, but you don't have the need for long reach, the 1320 would be the model you'll be looking at. The next machine up is the 1730. It has a little bit of the same characteristic as the 1320 we just talked about, in the sense that it has the small body of the 1265, but it has the arm system of the big 2200. And again, the reason for that is to provide a unit that can have a maximum and high lifting capacity in close range, but does not have the outreach. So this unit is very, very popular. Again, anything storefront, anything short that you have to lift, 1,713 pound capacity. Last but not least, on the Winlet line, the biggest unit is the 2200. The capacity is one of the largest in its segment, yet you have a very compact unit. And that is one of the things that is a trademark for the Winlet product line. You have a lot of capacity, but you still have a very compact format. One of the differences also actually is the steering on this one is power steering. Everything else, what you'll see a little later, is manual, still very easy though. But because this is a bigger machine, we have built-in power steering on this unit as well. We also have a unit that does not come with wheels. It's called a TH model. It is exactly the same model as you have here, the Winlet 770, but instead of having the wheel and the drivetrain here, it has a platform with fork pockets, and those pockets will work on a telehandler, so you can use it for taller installations. We also have a product line we call Ergo Mover. It is a product that is designed to bring glass, windows, anything heavy that you need to move around on your job site or in your factory for that matter. It has capacity of 3,300 pounds. It's an electric powered driven unit, very easy to use. It has 4-wheel steering, and I'm knocking off the displays here, but that's part of the show. And very, very easy to drive, very, very easy to use. You can get it with different kind of attachments. We just put an attachment here to show you, like for example, if you had windows or whatever on it. But something to consider as well, in addition to go along with the Winlet product line. The last thing I want to show you is our newest product. It's called the Winlet Lashes. As you can see out front, there's not much that looks like a glass installation machine, and it's not. It is a pick and carry crane where we have replaced the suction system with a hook system. The unit has capacity of 2,200 pounds, and what makes it unique is, again, it's very compact. Most of the pick and carry cranes on the market, they are 2-ton cranes. They're much bigger, much heavier. This is designed to work in that small niche that we already do with the Winlets, where you have only up to 2,200 pounds to lift, but you still have the flexibility in a compact format like we have it here on the Lashes 2200. As mentioned earlier, the Winlet 1265 is our best-selling and most popular model. The number, again, the model number reflects the capacity on the vacuum system. But what makes probably the 1265 so attractive is a couple of things. First and foremost, as you can see, it's a very, very compact machine. Very easy to move around, very easy to drive, as we'll see here in just a second. The other thing is, of course, it has a very, very unique vacuum system with dual capacity as far as safety, and all of it is fully hydraulic in the head, and we'll see demonstrations of that as well. With that comes the hydraulic power, and from a Winlet perspective, we believe that hydraulic power is the only way to go when we talk this type of equipment, for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we have a very strong capacity, very strong functions as far as speed, but we also have full control. We have a very, very precise way of operating the unit. So we know how tight the situations can be when you install glass or you put in a new window. So it's very, very important that you control the functions and the speed of it very, very precisely. And that's exactly what hydraulics can do. So aside from being more powerful than actuators, it's also more precise. From a maintenance point of view, it's easier. If you ever have an issue with a hydraulic hose or whatever, it can be repaired locally. If you have a problem with an actuator, in most cases, the manufacturer will have to send you a new one. So from a maintenance point of view, the hydraulic is by far the superior system. And last but not least, the pump we have here is supplying 2 vacuum tanks. We're going to go into that just in a second. But that is what gives you the redundant system, that even if you have one system fail, you still have full capacity on the vacuum. Of course, the most important part almost is this area right here in the front where you are going to have your material. First and foremost, make sure that the suction cups are clean and nice, that there's no tears anywhere in this lip here, because that's of course where you have your air seal. So it's important to check all your suction cups that they are nice and smooth and there's nothing stuck in here or that there's no tears. The other thing, of course, is the vacuum system. This is right here where you have your vacuum hoses, and this is a good time to explain to you that there are 2 different vacuum systems on the unit. They each get their vacuum from each their own tank. So even if you cut one of those and you have a load on, you will still have a full secured load. And also, one single suction cup is able to hold the entire maximum weight in an emergency situation. All the Winlets come with a unique safety system that we call the catch wheels. They are a swing out arm system that sits here in the bottom of the chassis of the units, and as the word says, is to catch the machine from avoiding it to tip over. A lot of time people confuse it with an outrigger or a support wheel, but that's not what it is. It is basically a system that when you have a load on and you're traveling with a machine, if you get on a sloped surface and you don't pay attention to it, depending on the weight balance on the glass in the front, or if you have it side turned, which I will show you here just shortly, you have to be very careful that if you are going onto a slope to either side, obviously the unit can be side heavy. So to avoid a situation where that could result into a tip over, we have these catch wheels. Very simple, it's just a locking system that sits right here. You swing them out and you lock them right there. Now it sits out here, as you can see, it sits about a couple of inches above the surface here, and this wheel can spin. So it's never the intention that they should touch the ground. It's basically just in the situation that if you get to a slope, they will catch the machine before it tips over. One of those situations can occur when you have a piece of glass that you have side turned. The only thing that's manual on this machine is this side turn, and this is on purpose so you don't by mistake when driving the machine all of a sudden swing it to the side. So you have a release down here and a release up here, and once that's released, you can actually turn your load to the side like this and lock it. And as you can imagine, this will now allow you to go through a very narrow opening with a long piece or a heavy piece of glass. So that is a situation where if you're driving over a distance, that the catch wheel can be very, very helpful. To use the Winlet is very easy. The first thing you do is to turn the main key, which is this one right here. There's just one key, it's just one location, and it only have on and off position, so very easy. And I'm just going to turn it down here in just a moment, and then you will also hear that the vacuum pump starts, which is the beginning of the unit preparing itself for operation. So you just turn this down, the unit will start. You can hear the vacuum pump come on. Now you can see I have two red lights here. Those red lights indicate each a vacuum tank. So right now the vacuum pump is preparing the vacuum tanks to be ready, and it will continue to run until I tell it that we are actually starting an operational mode now. So what I do here is these two buttons here in the top, you press those simultaneously. This turns red, and now you'll see in a short moment that these two red dots goes away. And once that happens, the vacuum pump will stop. So this means that now you have full vacuum on both tanks, and it also means that by having this manual stop of the vacuum, you also prevent that you have the vacuum pump running on the time, because it's not necessary. It will automatically kick in when you use the vacuum and you use the tanks. As soon as they start to go low, it will automatically refill or empty actually the tanks, so you always have capacity as you go along with the work. We're going to go back to the remote control here just a little later. Right now I just want to show you the driving functions. The driving functions of the unit is very, very easy. This is basically the same concept as a pallet jack, where you work with some flywheels here, or some paddle wheels, whatever you want to call them. Very easy. They are, front goes front, and you turn them down here, they go backwards. One thing you will notice here is the speed. Right now when I'm going forward with it here, you would see how I can almost just make the machine creep like this. Very, very slowly if I'm in a very tight area. But if I want to walk on a bigger distance, I just turn them and they go faster. Now, another thing is this red button right here. Let's say you're backing up like I'm doing right here, and you're not paying attention to what's behind you, and you end up going up against the wall. To prevent that, the machine will cross you. Once the red dot here hits your stomach, it jumps back about 2 feet. So again, let me show you this. And the machine stops and moves back. The other thing is the drive handle here. The drive handle needs to be in horizontal position as a locking mechanism. Once it's up here, everything is locked. You cannot move it. That is to prevent that somebody by accident, if it sits here, is walking by and do something like this or whatever just to see what it is. Once it sits up here, it's locked. The steering mechanism on every machine except for the 2200 is manual. So it's basically just turning the wheels from side to side here as you drive. So again, very much like a pallet jack type of operation. Very, very simple, very logic, very intuitive. Now we talked about how easy it is to drive the Winlet. Let's talk a little bit about the drive capabilities of the Winlet. The Winlet has its drive motors where they should be, which is right underneath where your weight is. So in other words, our drive motors are right here in the front. It's a transaxle, so you got traction on both wheels. And you can actually also get an extra set of wheels, a twin wheel that go right here, that will basically double the grip out in the terrain. So having the weight is one good feature. The other thing is brakes. Where do you want to have your brakes? In the front or the rear? Well, sometimes you are using the Winlet to put a piece of glass outside a building, twist it around and come back in. So that means you have your load over the edge. What happens when you go out this way? This end gets light. So that's why you always want to have the brakes here in the front where you have your traction as well. And that's the standard feature of the Winlet. Now it's time to use the machine. So we're going to start looking here at our control panel. As you can see, our control panel is attached with a lanyard here. So it's a wired remote control. It still allows you the very, very key function of being able to walk out here in front where the work is, so you can fully control the unit out here where the action is rather than being behind on the machine. That is extremely important because here you have a full visual view of what you're doing and you control everything from here. But let's just talk a little bit about the function of it. First and foremost, why not wireless? We have a wireless that I'll show you in just a while. A lot of our customers prefer to have this system because that way the remote control is always with the machine. It's not put on a shelf and forgotten in the shop when you go out to a job site. It's always there. A little bit about the design of the control panel. As you can see, it's pretty big, and this is designed so you can work on it, for example, with gloves. It's very, very intuitive, very simple to use. And also we have the function where you can suck onto your material and you release your material. We don't want to have a situation where one hand can by incident or by accident touch something and release the glass. So that's why we have this distance here where you need to use 2 fingers. We'll get to that in just a little while how we do that, but that is the reason for the design. The other thing that's really unique and nice about it is that you have a number for each of the functions. Each of these functions, of course, reflects a motion on the machine. In addition to actually selecting it, you can see I select number 1. I have a green light here. That helps you to know that we are now going to rotate the head with the joystick that I have right here. You can see it now. So that way you have that extra security that you know before you start your operation, which function have I chosen, what is the machine going to do, so you don't damage your glass. The next one we have right here is the side shift. Again, the light will show up and turn you the side shift of the head. And you can see here. This is a very, very unique feature of the Winlet. We do the side shift up here hydraulically where it is ultra precise. Other machines will do the side shift on the wheel axle, which means a very rough physical move of the machine on the front wheel axles. Here we do everything up where it has to be, up where the glass is. And as you can see here again, very precise, and I can slow it down to very, very slow speed. Or more. Number 3 here is simply up and down of the main arm. Again, we have the light on here, and you can see this is what controls the main arm up and down. Number 4, the light comes on here indicating that's the telescoping in and out. Number 5 is articulating the head up and down. And last but not least, we have a very, very nice feature that we call precision vertical shift. So this is where you have out here in the head, the green light again, you have the ability to just move the load up and down, not the head, but just the load. So we call that the precision vertical lift. Again, as you can see, everything is hydraulically controlled, very, very precise and very proportional. There is also a gyro function that I will get into just in a while, where you actually can press 2 buttons at the same time. And now this front side will stay in the same position you lock it in. So even if you move the arm system up and down, the load will stay in the same vertical position. But we will show that a little later when we have a window on the front of it. As I explained earlier, If you want to have it as a wireless remote control, we have that too. So basically, the very same function I just showed to you here previously on the standard remote control, you have that here on a wireless that will basically allow you to walk around, where you will have the same functions we just demonstrated. We'll have them here in the control paddles, and then you have an LED screen here that will show you exactly how and what you're doing with it. Now it's time to talk a little bit about how you actually attach your glass, or your any airtight material for that matter, to the suction cups. A couple of nice features I want to show you here. First is the swivel function of the suction cup. As you can see, I can move it here in all directions, and I also have a small spring mechanism here that will move the suction cup in and out. What this translates into is that instead of the material having to be flexible, if you go up against it, the Winlet will be the flexible part. In other words, you don't have a risk of breaking a glass or other material you're using by having a very hard fixed system of the vacuum cups. You have here a very flexible system that will allow you some tolerances when you are sucking onto your material. This can also be very practical if you're not completely in alignment between the suction cups. One is maybe a little bit further out than the other. You can still suck onto it because we have this display here on the cups. You also have the ability to move, of course, the suction cups in and out here. And we can get different types of steel frames. You can, for example, put one that's on here that have all 4 cups in one line. And you can, of course, also, if you have a small piece of glass where you don't need all 4 suction cups and only have space for 2, you can suck on to the material with just 2 suction cups. The only thing you have to remember, if you do that, you have to disconnect here with a quick disconnect on the ones you don't use. You have to disconnect that, because otherwise, you know, the unit will of course try to suck onto something here in the front that's not there. So just make sure you have these disconnected on the ones you do not use, if you only use 2 of them at the same time. So now is the time to show what the Winlet really can do. This is a time where we're going to show you how you attach the suction cups to the glass. And in our case today, we have chosen a 550 pound piece of glass that sits over here. That kind of size fits very well into the capacity of the Winlet 1265. And talking about capacity, up here you have a label, a reach diagram basically. And what this does, it explains to you the ratio between the weight you have in your suction cups and what is your horizontal reach and what is your vertical reach with that particular weight. So just the same concept like a crane, the more weight you have on your suction cups, obviously the less horizontal reach and or vertical reach will you have, and vice versa. So this is a good diagram to take a look at before you start, because it'll help you also to decide where do you need to position the Winlet before you start manipulating it. What we'll do here is we will drive the unit into a closer range. We're about 5-6 feet away from the glass right now. So I'm going to drive it in to about 1-2 feet from the glass, and from that point on we're going to have the manipulator do the rest of the job. So now we're in a good safe distance as far as driving the unit. You don't want to go too close because you cannot really see the distance from here. And that's the great thing. You don't have to get close, because what happens now is you take the remote control that we talked about earlier, and instead of having it here in the back of the machine, you bring it out to the front where the action is. So now that we're out here, we can start the manipulation where we have the Winlet coming in and attached to the glass. And again, the great thing is you can manipulate it, you know, just like you want. If you want to be a little closer with some of the features, or you want to have the glass, the suction cups in a certain position, like I want to do here, I want to make sure I have a good angle here that reflects what I have. And then I'm going to continue slowly in towards the glass. All right, I have now made contact to my glass. And as you can see here, I have a red light here in the middle of my suction head. And that indicates that I'm not sucked onto the glass yet. In other words, I must not now try to manipulate anything as far as trying to lift the glass. What I need to do now is I need to engage the vacuum pump and ensure that we get a tight seal on all the 4 vacuum cups. We do that by pushing these 2 buttons up here in the top of the control panel. And as we did when we started the whole presentation, we did that to stop the vacuum pump. Now we do it to engage the vacuum pump, and again 2 thumbs at the same time. You can hear the pump comes on. And now we have the light out, as you can see here. That means it is safe to use. It means that we have full contact with the glass. The first thing I want to do here to make sure I want to get it clear off the ground a little bit, I'm going to use my vertical lift just a little bit here to just get it a little bit off the ground to be on the safe side. Then I can pull back, lift it up a little higher, and then pull back in. So now we have the unit in a position where we can start driving with the glass. You always want to be as much compact as you can when you basically drive with the glass. And we're gonna go back here. And now, as you can see, we can easily drive and manipulate here later with the glass. Now let's take a look at some of the features we talked about before. Particularly one of them I want to talk about, and I'm going to move over here so the camera can get a better shot at it. We talked about the side shift, where you have the ability to move actually the load sideways. And that's with this function right here. We're just doing it on the head. The great thing about it here is 100% hydraulic. It's 100% controlled by you. And you can see here, we can do it with millimeter precision. Very slow and very precise. This is a very big contrast to machines that are doing this actual same activity by moving it on the axle. So you can imagine, instead of moving the whole machine on the axle, we're just moving it right up here at the head where it needs to be done. The other thing that's very nice and very useful is the ability to use the vertical precision shift. That is this one right here, where we're just going to lift up or down on the head without moving anything else. And again, as I'm showing you here, very, very precise. When we went through the functionality of the panel a little earlier, I talked about the gyro function. And what that is once you have the glass in an angle you need to have it, but you need to lift it up a little further higher up. If you do that with the main boom as it sits right now, obviously we're going to change the angle of the glass as well. And that means that in order to lift it up, further up, you would have to correct, go up, correct, go up, correct, go up, correct, go up. Not with a Winlet. All you have to do here is you push the button. You have some models is 3 and 5. On this model here is just number 5. And now the light out here and the head starts to blink. This means that I have engaged my gyro function. So I can now lift the main arm up without changing the angle of my glass. And you will see here how the head now starts to manipulate the glass. You see there? Instead of you having to manually adjust it as you go up, the unit automatically does that. Now that we are up in this position anyway, let me also show you that if you have a ceiling installation, you can actually tilt the head back . And now you have the possibility to actually extend it up further if you had a glass installation. And again, of course, you have the same possibility of manipulating with a rotator in each direction. To disconnect the gyro function, you just press the 5, which I just did here earlier, to be able to do the rotation up there, and then you're out of it again. Another thing I want to show you here is we have a situation where we have the glass in a horizontal position. But what if you have to transport it in this way, but you have to install it vertically? That's when we have the rotation here, which again is full automatic. So we simply just rotate this. You need to make sure you don't hit it down here, which I was about to do. So there we go. And now you have your glass in a vertical position. And again, you can do the same maneuvering that we did before, in and out, up and down with, you know, fine shift, up and down, whatever you need. Now we're just going to take it back to the position we had before, a little bit like that. And we can take it down. As you can see here, I don't have the gyro on it. You see what happens. You have, if you were to correct in the installation situation, you would have to correct the manipulation by the articulating head right here. That's what you avoid with the gyro function. Now we have our glass back in the position where we started, and we pretend this is where we need to release the glass. So what we'll do there is we will use the same two buttons that we used to suck onto the glass, and we will push these two buttons at the same time, and you will simply hear also the suction cups are releasing the glass. Now this is a brand new machine, so sometimes on a big piece like that we have to just give the lips here a little help once we have released it to make sure we have a full release. So we're going to press the buttons. So we have now the glass released from the suction cups, and we can now retract the Winlet all the way in, and it's time to move the Winlet to the next job. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a lot easier than having 5 people handle the glass manually with manual suction cups. This is the way to go. Much easier on people's back, much safer for the glass, much faster, much more efficient. Now you've seen the Winlet program, what we have so far, and as I said earlier in my presentation, we have a little surprise for you. So at this point, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague in Denmark, Lars Mathiasen, who will show you the latest and greatest of the Winlet program.
Thank you, Ebbe, and welcome to the Winlet factory. My name is Lars Mathiasen. I'm the regional sales manager for Winlet and Ergomover in Europe. And I'm very pleased to introduce you to the Winlet 880 or Winlet 400 as we call it in Europe, that will be introduced in North America this fall. The Winlet 880 comes in many versions with a lifting capacity and up to 1100 pounds. First of all, you need to decide on the wheel configuration. All Winlet 880 can be equipped with smaller wheels, which you know already from the Winlet 770, and which makes it very ideal for indoor use. But you can also choose to get larger wheels like shown on this model. In this configuration you get more an outdoor model, which is well suited for indoor and outdoor applications. Now it's time to decide on the control system for the different hydraulic functions. You can have your Winlet 880 with the control that you already know from your other Winlets. That means where you can control which cylinder to move, and you can control the speed 100 proportional and with millimeter precision. But as a new option, we now offer you the multi-axis control, the MAC control, which will give you the possibility to move more hydraulic functions at the same time. On top of that, you can choose between different speed levels that ensures that you maintain the benefits of the speed, which you only get from a hydraulic machine. As you can see today, we are presenting you this new MAC control. The next step is to choose between the single hydraulic boom or like here with a double hydraulic boom. As you can see today, we are showing you the double hydraulic boom that will give you more reach. Naturally, the extra boom is hydraulic and it can be extended with full load in the cups. So there's no need to manually extend the boom before you start lifting. Finally, we have two different fronts for the Winlet. You can still get the front you already know from the Winlet 770, where you have 100% linear movements, hydraulically up and down, and mechanically sideways. But as an alternative, you can now have a different front, which we are showing you today, with a hydraulic side shift, and it's naturally 100% linear, which is crucial when you do precision installation. Thank you for your time. Please do not hesitate to contact Reachmaster to get a quotation on your customized Winlet 8880.
Thank you, Lars. That was a very exciting news. We look very much forward to have this unit here in the North American market in the fall. And we look very much forward to show it to you, our customers, and get it out in the market. We're very excited about this new model because we think it will really change a lot of factors out there. It's much more flexible in many ways and comes in a lot of different configuration that can be customized to exactly what your needs are. Thank you very much for watching and for taking time to look at the Winlet program. We really appreciate your time. For more information, by all means, give us a call, 1-866-358-7088. Again, the number is 1-866-358-7088. Or you can go on our webpage, which is www.winletusa.com. www.winletusa, in one word, .com. Thank you again for watching.